Well, we've reached the end of Donald Trump's no good, very bad week. The latest in a string of bad weeks since his second term began. But this week, the government reopened after a 43-day shutdown, breaking the record of the previous longest ever shutdown, which was in Trump's first term, only to be eclipsed by the release of thousands of emails that the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein either sent or received. According to an analysis by the Wall Street Journal, Donald Trump's name appeared in more than half the email files. 1,670 emails, including one that said Trump, quote, knew about the girls, end quote. On Air Force One tonight, Donald Trump said this.
What did Jeffrey Epstein mean in his emails when he said you knew about the girls?
I know nothing about that. They would have announced that a long time ago.
Today, Donald Trump also ignored reporters' questions about his former friend, Jeffrey Epstein. But this morning, after 2 days of silence over the Epstein emails, Donald Trump finally spoke out on social media, only to rely on his favorite deflection tactic, whataboutism, as in, what about everyone else in Epstein's emails? At 9:33 a.m., Donald Trump posted, quote, Epstein was a Democrat, and he is the Democrats' problem, not the Republicans' problem. Ask Bill Clinton, Reid Hoffman, and Larry Summers about Epstein. They know all about him. Don't waste your time with Trump. I have a country to run, end quote. An hour later, at 10:35 a.m., quote, now that the Democrats are using the Epstein hoax involving Democrats, not Republicans, to try and deflect, I will be asking AG Pam Bondi and the Department of Justice, together with our great patriots at the FBI, to investigate Jeffrey Epstein's involvement and relationship with Bill Clinton, Larry Summers, Reid Hoffman, J.P. Morgan Chase, and many other people and institutions to determine what was going on with them and him. Records show that these men and many others spent large portions of their life with Epstein. Stay tuned. In a statement, a spokesperson for Bill Clinton said, quote, these emails prove Bill Clinton did nothing and knew nothing. The rest is noise meant to distract from election losses, backfiring shutdowns, and who knows what else. Larry Summers, Reid Hoffman, and J.P. Morgan Chase have all expressed regret over their ties to Epstein. Now, there are a few problems with Trump's whataboutism. For example, why is Jeffrey Epstein's convicted criminal co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell, getting special treatment in a minimum security prison camp to which she was transferred after meeting with Trump's deputy attorney general, who also happens to be Trump's former criminal lawyer, Todd Blanche? And why does the Trump Department of Justice seem to have zero problem with that, or zero curiosity about why that may be? This is a scandal in and of itself, and it's 100% a product of Donald Trump's second term. According to a whistleblower, Maxwell, a convicted sex trafficker, is receiving concierge-style treatment in prison. The New York Times' Michelle Goldberg writes, quote, what's shocking here is not that Maxwell is being treated decently, all prisoners should be, but that she's being treated so much better than everyone else. The relative pampering she's enjoying seems particularly significant, given newly released emails between her and Epstein suggesting she's harboring some sort of secret about Trump. Quote, I want you to realize that that dog that hasn't barked is Trump, end quote. Epstein wrote to Maxwell in 2011. One of his victims, Epstein wrote, spent hours at my house with him. He's never once been mentioned. Maxwell responded to that. I've been thinking about that. Much about this email is ambiguous. Epstein could have been suggesting that Trump was keeping something quiet, or he might have been expressing surprise that Trump hadn't yet been dragged into this mess. Presumably, Maxwell could clear things up and explain the exact nature of Trump and Epstein's entanglement. That's why it's striking that the Bureau of Prisons, which is part of the Justice Department, seems to be taking such extraordinary steps to keep her happy. Maybe there's an innocent explanation for all the privileges she's been accorded, but I can't think of one. And why did top Trump DOJ officials bring Congresswoman Lauren Boebert to the Situation Room last week to try to stop the discharge petition to release the Epstein files? They failed, of course. Boebert kept her name on the petition, and next week, the House of Representatives is expected to vote on whether the Trump Justice Department should release all its files related to the investigation into Epstein. On Wednesday, Republican co-sponsor Thomas Massie said this.
Well, I've already had a couple Republicans tell my office privately that they're going to vote for it, and I think that could snowball. The deal for Republicans on this vote is that Trump will protect you if you vote the wrong way. In other words, if you vote to cover up for pedophiles, you've got cover in a Republican primary. But I would remind my colleagues that this vote is going to be on your record for longer than Trump is going to be president. And what are you going to do in 2028 and 2030 when you're in a debate, either with a Republican or a Democrat, and they say, how can we trust you? You covered up for a pedophile back in 2025.
Trump has said he had no knowledge, no involvement, and had no knowledge of Epstein's sex crimes. So Donald Trump's whataboutism is raising more questions, and next week will raise even more questions. Trump also has another deflection. After saying, quote, I don't want to hear about the affordability, Donald Trump wants to talk about the affordability. Talking about affordability under the Trump economy means coming to the realization that the Trump tariffs are taxes. Today, Donald Trump signed an executive order lowering some of his tariffs on some food imports. The Wall Street Journal reports, quote, Trump issued an executive order modifying the reciprocal tariffs he imposed on virtually every trading partner in August, exempting more than 100 common food items, including fruits, nuts, and spices. The move continues a shift away from Trump's maximalist tariff policy. When the president announced his reciprocal tariffs this spring, his economic team insisted there would be no exemptions to the levies. They later relented, removing duties on certain items not produced in the United States or available in sufficient quantities from domestic suppliers to meet demand. The newly exempted products on Friday, however, include many products commonly produced in the United States, such as beef, which has risen to record prices in recent months. The tariff reductions are retroactive to 12:01 a.m. on Thursday, November 13th, according to the order. The vice president of federal tax policy at the Tax Foundation, Erica York, told the Wall Street Journal, quote, by admitting that lowering tariffs will lower prices for U.S. consumers, the Trump administration is acknowledging what economists have pointed out all along. Tariffs raise prices. Donald Trump's economic pivot, designed to distract from Epstein, opens up a whole new set of questions about his policies and who really benefits under his administration. As millions of Americans continue to struggle with the rising costs of everyday goods, Trump world continues to thrive, often at the expense of taxpayers. Bloomberg is reporting that Michael Flynn, Donald Trump's first national security advisor, who pleaded guilty to lying about the FBI about his contacts with Russia, is in talks with the Justice Department about a $50 million settlement. ProPublica reports that a firm with business ties to Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem got $220 million for a taxpayer-funded ad campaign. Pretty remarkable campaign, by the way. And the Washington Post reports today that Donald Trump is throwing a lavish dinner for Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman next week. The Post reports, quote, the trip is the first visit to the United States for Mohammed bin Salman since the 2018 murder of Jamal Khashoggi, a contributing columnist to the Post and an outspoken critic of the Saudi government. Trump's ties to Saudi Arabia go beyond U.S. interests. The Trump Organization, which is led by the president's sons, has plans for a Trump-branded property in Riyadh, the capital and the largest city in Saudi Arabia, and is also working on Trump Tower Jeddah along the coast of the Red Sea. And Mohammed bin Salman is a business partner of Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. Kushner's private equity firm has received billions from foreign sources, including the government of Saudi Arabia.